Just sparks like wild, electric tunes from loud. The slides never evolve, under red sky so proud. Press on, breaking barriers with laser shots so bright. No rest for these warriors, boost your speed of might. Chrome trails cutting dark space, churning dust through the void. Slides never lose this race, guardians hearts destroyed. Let's destroy. Press on, breaking barriers with laser shots so bright. No rest for these warriors, boost his feet on might. Chrome trails cut in dark space, churning dust to the void. Machine hearts pop bombing, together we withstand. Electric line twisting, breaking through side. Sliver the snail, rebels trust me high. Blue body exciting with machine ride. Metallic trains crushing the other side. In rubber wall darkness we collide. Breaking iron storms where shadows hide. Shannon gear screaming powers our guide. Mechanical wars destiny can't deny. Rise up, splinter, crush the steel. Energy running circuits feel the thrill. The thrill. Roll this wasteland, make it real. Against the red mutants, our fate will deal. Stags red claws digging deep in the sand. Mutants rise, power in their hand. But slither monsters with a steel command. In battle's chaos, we make our stand. Sparks my mission on the line. Chrome guardians with steel hard shine. Red and blue destinies intertwine. In the override program of war we define. Rise up, slither, crush the steel. Energy running circuit, feel the thrill. The thrill. Roll this wasteland, make it real. Against the red mutants, our fate will seal. Crush the steel, energy running circuits, feel the thrill. The thrill. Roll this wasteland, make it real. Against the red mutants, our fate will seal. Digging deep in the sand. Mutants rise, power in their hand. But slither marches with a steel command. In battle's chaos we make our stand. Stags red claws digging deep in the sand. Mutants rise, power in their hand. But slither marches with a steel command. In battle's chaos we make our stand.